And now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
Hello and welcome back to your RBLR Rays show. Thank you again for joining us. If you're a returning member, we're glad to see you back again. If you're new here, you should stick around because we're going to tell you all of the stuff that's going on in Rays baseball, break it down, talk about it, figure out what the heck is going on with this 2024 Rays team because it has been a real mystery. I'm Patrick Davenport and I am hosting today. Zach Dabb is not here today, unfortunately. It's going to be a solo adventure with your boy Pat from across the pond. Zach is feeling under the weather, feeling a bit ill today, and who knows, maybe that was a side effect of watching the Rays go on what is currently a brutal L5 streak. Since we have last done a podcast, the Rays have won 0 baseball games, and none of those games have been particularly fun to watch. So let's break it down. But before we do that, I would just like to ask you a quick favor, especially if you're a returning member to the podcast. You know how much we like to analyze, how much we strive to bring you the best baseball content, Tampa Bay Rays content here. And to drop us a favor, that would be amazing. And that is by giving us a like, by subscribing to the YouTube channel, by retweeting the podcast or sharing it with your friends. It does us a massive favor as we try and grow this RBLR brand, bringing you all of the best Tampa Bay Rays content out there. We continue to strive to do that, and it would do us a huge favor and help us out greatly if you could like, subscribe, share, all of that good stuff. We also are interested to hear your thoughts as well, whether you agree or disagree. I know we look at baseball slightly different to other people around the internet. So if you disagree with what we're saying, or if you agree with what we're saying, or even have a question that you want us to discuss more, be sure to drop us a comment, or be sure to tweet us at RBLR Sports, RBLR Rays, or you can even tweet me at Depressed Rays, UK Rays Boy. Right. So let us talk about this 5-game loss streak that we are currently facing. Last time we podcasted, it was mid-game last Sunday where we ended up dropping a game 5-2 to the Blue Jays in the series finale, but that's okay because we won the series anyway on the road north of the border. Aaron Savali was continuously not good, and Isaac Paredes hit a home run in garbage time, and that's fine. We still took a series on the road against a divisional opponent. We take those. Things started to go wrong when we returned back to Tropicana Field, however, and that is when we went to face the Red Sox for the second series in the span of a week. This time at home, after taking 3 of 4 at Fenway, we ended up getting swept, which is not good. We lost the first game 5-0. Taj Bradley was excellent in that. Well, hold on. Let's not get ahead of ourselves like most of us did on Twitter. Taj Bradley was excellent through the first 3 innings of that game, striking out 8 of the first 9 he faced. And then it all went wrong. He started to give up a couple of big home runs to Devers and Rafaela, and then the offense gave him no run support. And so those home runs proved to be our undoing. Then in the second game, it was a 5-2 loss in that one, and that was a little bit closer of the games. We actually had a 2-run lead going out of the first inning. They ended up tying it by the end of the 6th, and then we had a bit of a frustrating 8th inning where the Red Sox even pulled the old steal second and steal home trick on us, a typical Rays move that they used against us, and we weren't savvy enough to defend against an absolutely infuriating play where Brandon Lau, all he needed to do was tag a stealing Devers over at second that he could have caught very, very easily. It was not close, but instead he decided to throw home, which allowed the runner to score Devers to be safe. If he tagged Devers, it would have been the 3rd out and it would have ended the inning. The run wouldn't have scored. So really, really frustrating, especially because that was a Kevin Cash signature, especially in like 2018 to 2020. We pulled that move off quite a lot. So that was unfortunate. And then, of course, the series finale, we had a 3-run lead in that one, and then we ended up giving up 8 runs in 2 innings to drop that game 8-5. So it was 5 runs in the 5th, 3 runs in the 6th. Tyler Alexander made to wear all 8 of those runs. Really, 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 really tough one there. And then last night we had a really, really poor loss to the Royals, the red hot Kansas City Royals, where we dropped that game 8-1. Sorry, that was the Tyler Alexander game where he dropped all 8 runs, was made to wear it to save the pen. The 8-5 game was where the Rays pen couldn't quite back up Ryan Pepio, who was okay, but was done after just 4 innings. And then Lovelady and Kelly ended up giving up the remaining runs there. So we need to have a look at this L5. I mean, every team at every point in the season is going to go on a 5-game loss streak at some point, and they're going to go on a 5-game win streak at some point. We've done both of those things now, so hopefully the loss streak is out of our system. But it's been a particularly frustrating time to have this happen, because over the past couple of weeks, we've actually been playing what seemed to be a pretty good brand of baseball, and we were creating some upward momentum as a team. We had won 12 of our past 16 heading into that Red Sox series, and then, of course, it all came crashing down. And the team has been a frustrating watch recently, and I was trying to examine why that is. In fact, all year they have been a frustrating watch, and that is because they've never really been able to get out of first gear, and every time they go on a good run, they immediately cancel that out with a bad run, and it feels like we're constantly trading wins and losses and constantly hovering around the 500 level. And that's really frustrating, because you can't say with any confidence that the team is bad, but you can't say with any confidence that the team is good either, because they're not getting the wins that they need. And in all honesty, you could even argue with the run differentials and the way that the Rays are losing, that their win-loss record could be considered overperformance. In fact, by Pythagorean win and loss record, the Rays are overperforming their win-loss records. They've got a really bad run differential far back in the minuses, which would imply that they should be even further behind in wins and losses than they actually are now, because often when they win, it's a close game, and when they lose, it's a blowout, which implies that the team have been getting some wins that they shouldn't have, which means this Rays team has been a massive, underwhelming start to the season. We have underwhelmed, and I think we need to make the transition now as a RBLR staff and go, yeah, this is now past the point of, yeah, let's just wait and see. Things are going to get back on track. We just wait and see things are going to get back on track. We need to really now go, we're about to be a third of the way through the season, and the team has underwhelmed. 500-ish is not necessarily awful, but considering the expectations on this team and the expectations this team have kind of earned to have over the past 5 years, 500 ball and now 3 games out of a playoff spot is underwhelming. We need to look at this roster and go, this team should be walking to at least a wildcard spot. And the fact that this season may play out that we're scrapping for the 6th seed is an underperformance. There could be a massive run still in us, but there hasn't been much indication to say that that is right around the corner, because the offense, by most offensive metrics, has actually been the 4th worst offense in baseball. And there are so many numbers to back that up. We're 4th least in home runs. We have the 4th worst hard hit percentage, 4th worst barrel percentage, 4th worst exit velocity on average. We have the 4th lowest slugging percentage, and we are in near the bottom in on base percentage as well. I think we're 9th worst in MLB in on base percentage as well. So the offense has been the main cause of the problem. And what is particularly frightening to me is, obviously we have been missing Josh Lowe and Brandon Lau for the majority of the season. But this week we have had essentially the fully assembled Avengers Rays lineup. This is the Rays lineup that we all projected as the A lineup going into the season. And over this week, we have scored a grand total of 8 runs over 4 games. 8 runs over 4 games. So that is 2 runs a game, which is not good enough. And in fact, if you look at our runs per game on the season, we're currently averaging 3.96 runs per game across the whole season, which is currently 7th worst in all of baseball. And the other teams in that mix are the White Sox, who have been really, really bad. The Marlins, who have been really, really bad. The A's, who are not a good team. The Cardinals, who have massively underwhelmed. And the Blue Jays, who have also massively underwhelmed. These are all teams near the bottom of their division, apart from the Mariners, who have managed to back themselves up with some really good pitching. I would say this is the main reason. And I tried to take a look at as to why this offense isn't working. Is it something team-wide? Is it something individual? Is it something to do with the roster construction, as we have often praised the roster construction of this team? And I think the big thing, and I think it's obvious from the stats that I said earlier, is that we're not hitting at all for power. We're not squaring up the ball. We have no real power threats on the team apart from Isaac Paredes. And even then, he overperforms what he should be doing power-wise because of his ability to pull fly balls. Randy can hit a home run, but he can't seem to do much else at the moment except occasionally run into a baseball. So the bottom of the order, especially, with Caballero, Rotvet, Palacios sometimes. These are all guys that are not threats to take you deep. Jose Siri as well can take you deep, but isn't hitting the ball with nearly enough consistency to be considered a legit power threat. The team made a conscious effort in the offseason to trade away Luke Raley, and they replaced him with Palacios and with DeLuca. And these are all speedy on-base guys. Same with what we did with Caballero. We've assembled a bottom of the order made up of speedy on-base guys, contact hitters, Ahmed Rosario as well. And that's fine as long as you've got the kind of other side of that equation. Because getting on base 3 or 4 times in a row with single is one thing if you can, bloop and blast, or if you can, get those runners home. And for that, most reliably, you need a guy that can take a home run or can hit a double or hit for power consistently, because stringing 4 hits together to get a run in is way harder than 2, which is a bloop and a blast, right? So the power hitters are not performing, and the contact hitters are performing, but aren't good enough to string hits in a row with any kind of consistency. So we've kind of got this horrid, what's the word? Kind of lack of continuity in the lineup, where you go, okay, I'll pitch to the contact hitters and they can get the first 2 guys on. And then I'm not scared of Randy Rosarena. I'm not scared of Yandy Diaz because they are not hitting for power. And also, they're not walking as a team either. This is part of the roster construction as well. We did get Ahmed Rosario. We did get Jose Caballero, who are known to swing away and not really take their walks. Randy Rosarena, when he is at his worst, like he has been this year, is a guy that doesn't take his walks. This is a team that is prone to stretching and pressing and not taking their walks. And because this team has been underperforming offensively, they are not taking their walks because they're pressing. And that, again, makes life so much more difficult. Kevin Cash said that he is concerned, and this is a big thing for me, that Kevin Cash is finally admitting that he is concerned about the team. That is a scary thing when the manager finally says, listen, we are not doing what we should be doing. What's the solution? I'm not entirely sure. I think it needs to be about stop pressing and stay within yourself and focus on just getting on base. You don't need to hit a home run. You need to just take it easy. And I think there's got to be a level of trust that needs to be built amongst this lineup. I don't think any hitter at the moment trusts the guy behind them to do things, because the big guys at the top of the lineup are slumping. And therefore, the bottom of the order are like, I've got to do it. So they're swinging more and not walking enough. And then the guys at the top of the order are saying, hey, I don't trust the bottom of the order because they're the bottom of the order. So I'll try and get myself back on track with a big swing, because if I just hit a home run, everything will be back. Something that is a pretty damning stat, I think, on the Rays is they have a 30.4 chase percentage on the season, which is 4th worst in baseball, or the 4th highest chase percentage, behind only the Marlins, bad team, Rockies, bad team, Astros, a team that has been bad this season. They are chasing a lot. The amount of times they swing in the zone is actually in the bottom half of baseball as well. So they're swinging less at the pitches in the zone than they should be and swinging way more at pitches out of the zone, which does not always lead to good results. They also have a ton of swing and miss in their game as well. Their whiff percentage is 7th in highest in baseball, 27.1. So they got so much swing and miss. Now, something that I will admit is that pitchers have actually pitched really well to them. They have one of the lowest meatball percentages, which is how often a really easy, relatively pitch to hit down the middle of the zone comes to them. That's only 7.2% of the time, which is actually 6th least in baseball. So they are being pitched well to. But then when those meatballs come along, they only swing at them 74.3% of the time, which sounds like a lot, but is again actually the fifth lowest meatball swing percentage in baseball. Their approach is all messed up. They're swinging at stuff that they shouldn't be. They're not swinging as much at stuff that they should be. They're all out of whack. They're all lost. And I don't know what it takes to fix that, apart from doing a complete mental reset and changing your really putting a hard nose approach in at the plate of being really disciplined and swinging less. But you could argue that many of these players, like Ahmed Rosario, made a career out of swinging a lot and making lots of contact and using BABIP to their advantage. But something's clearly not working with this offense, and a change is needed. And unfortunately, this is the team we're running, whether you want to or not. Hopefully, this will also be remedied by Brandon Lau getting back into the swing of things. Josh Lowe hopefully not being gone for too long, and Yandy Diaz hopefully finding what we're used to from Yandy Diaz, which is a mix of power and discipline. I think Yandy is someone that will improve because he has proven that he is better than this. I think Randy is not the worst qualified hitter in all of baseball. I don't think that's him all the way through, and I think he will regress to a mean at some point. But right now, this offense has been brutal, and that is what I would point to the most out of all the problems. Because on the pitching side, I would say the Rays are mostly doing okay. Mostly. I think there are things that they could definitely be doing better. They're kind of, they're giving up a lot of fly balls and a lot of line drives and striking out a lot. So a lot of their stuff is, hey, you probably won't hit us, but if you do, you're going to hit us really hard. And that is, again, a bit of a roster construction thing. They have pitches that are kind of designed to give up fly balls. Jason Adam is a bit like that. Colin Poche is a bit like that. But again, the lack of ground balls being produced means that the amount of extra base hit potential is also there. I'm not saying the roster construction is wrong. I think if everyone is executing, then the roster construction is correct. But right now, things aren't executing. And I think the Rays will be looking at the waiver wire, looking at fringe bullpen arms that they can bring in, like Richard Lovelady, like they just did, to see if there's any avenue that they can exploit. But right now, this is like the team that we'd expect to run in 2024, and this is the results that we're getting. Do I think this team should be playing better? Yes. Do I think that they've constructed the roster wrong? No. But they couldn't have predicted this kind of chronic underperformance amongst all of the players that they would depend on to perform happening at the same time. That is not a usual thing that happens. And the question now is, we have about 2-3 weeks for this team to figure it out before you really have to start to wonder if this team, what this team does at the trade deadline. Because they're not going to be, if they're on the fringe of the outside, I don't know if they're going to push to be buyers. Which I know sounds very negative from me, and I think vibes are really bad. But like I said, the reasons for optimism are Brandon Lau should be better than what he's going to do, and I think he will. Josh Lowe, the same. Yandy, Randy, the same. I think the end of the streak will eventually come of this cold, horrid top of the lineup. But what that's going to take and what's going to catalyze that, I don't know yet. And until that happens, the team is a tough watch. And they're lacking on confidence. They're lacking on discipline, and it's all falling apart for them. The Royals are a good team, but I I really worry about the June schedule if they are going to improve, because they're playing the Orioles a bunch of times. They're playing the Braves later in June as well. The Cubs are a good team as well. So they've got a lot of tough games left to play. And I am officially concerned now. I'm not panicking, but like Kevin Cash, I am concerned. And if you're concerned about your wardrobe choices, if you're concerned about the fact that you're going on a bit of a tough run in what you're wearing, you're lacking in drip, you're lacking in Riz, I got just the place for you. You should go to shop.rblrsports.com and look at all the amazing Rays gear that you can get. You can support your team. Also, there are loads of other Tampa Bay sports gear that you can get. You can get stuff for the Bucks, the Lightning, the Rowdies. It's all going to be there, and there's some amazing stuff that you can get to rep your team. There's an amazing Bring Back the Devil shirt. That's one of my favorites. You could also get a acquire, develop, dominate, repeat shirt that I really like as well. It's all there on shop.rblrsports.com, and if you use the promo code FLAPPY, just like our Flappy Boys, FLAPPY, you get 10% off your whole order. So go to shop.rblrsports.com and use the code FLAPPY for 10% off all of that great RBLR merch goodness. All right, so it's time for me to talk about our RBLR Bat and Arm of the Week. I'm doing it by myself this week, so there's only going to be one Bat and Arm of the Week, unfortunately. And it's always tough to nominate good performances when there's been a bad week, but the Bat of the Week was definitely an easy choice, and that is someone that has won it quite a lot over this year, and that has been our third baseman, Isaac Paredes. Paredes continues to be really good. He's hitting to a 160 WRC plus this week. He drove in 4 runs. He's hit a home run. He's just been continuing to do exactly as we want him to do as the only consistent piece of our lineup. And he has been a cornerstone that I think we should even extend. Alongside Jose Ramirez, he is the best third baseman offensively in baseball this year by pretty much every metric. Him and Jose Ramirez are going to be competing a lot, I think, for all-star consideration this year, which is really exciting, as well as those Silver Slugger awards at the end of the year as well. So Isaac, keep doing what you're doing, buddy. Love you. I think we need to extend you ASAP as part of our amazing young core that we are building. And Isaac, we couldn't be proud of you. Keep it up, buddy. As for our Arm of the Week, this was a much tougher puzzle to crack because there was no one that was particularly outstanding this week. Lots of struggles from the rotation in particular. There were a couple of decent bullpen arm performances, but nothing that was like, whoa. Phil Maton had a really good week. He pitched 3 scoreless innings and did a really good job when he pitched. Sean Armstrong was okay. He had a nice open. And that's about it. But my Arm of the Week is actually going to go to Taj Bradley. Taj looked absolutely electric through the first 3 innings of his start the other day, and he kind of showed us what he can do when he is operating consistently and when his command is working with his stuff, because we all know he has the stuff. It's just when the command isn't there is where things start to unfurl. I've got lots of faith in Taj Bradley to do even better going forward. He's got incredible stuff and he has command in bits. And we were saying that about Ryan Pepio just a few weeks ago, just before he got injured, and he started to really put it together and look dominant. Do you know who else we used to say that about? Blake Snell. Blake Snell, amazing stuff. If he could just put together some more consistent command, he's going to be lights out. He went on to put up some more consistent command, and he went on to win the Cy Young Award, not once, but twice. I think Taj Bradley has a lot of Blake Snell in him. He's like a right-handed Blake Snell. If he could stop nibbling as much, if he can just attack the zone a bit more, he has got the fastball and the breaking stuff to make his stuff work in the zone. And Justin Verlander made a whole career out of attacking the zone with good stuff and going, well, if you're going to hit me for a home run, it'll be a solo home run. It won't kill me. I think Taj Bradley could do that. So hopefully we see more like this from Taj, but instead of for 3 good innings, we can get 5, 6 good innings out of him next time. So well done, Taj Bradley. You're the Arm of the Week for me. Okay, let's have a look at what was I going to have a look at for you? Oh yeah, some injury news and some roster updates for all of you, and that is some good news and some bad news. Of course, Brandon Lau got reinstated from the IL after a bit of an injury knock earlier in the season. He is back on the roster, which is great to see. Josh Lowe, however, is currently day-to-day after he was out of the Wednesday game against the Red Sox because of some side tightness. He did not play last night, and he took a cortisone shot. He says he's feeling better today after a day off, and he said he could be back Saturday or Sunday if he continues to feel good. Is continuing to exercise. He says he feels good. It's just making sure that we don't cause the strain to worsen, because that could be really, really bad. So he could hopefully be back soon if he continues to feel good. If not, it could be a lengthy IL stint for him with a muscle strain, and those can take a while to work out. So hopefully, fingers crossed, next time we talk, Josh Lowe is fine. He didn't need to go to the IL, and he remains a contributor to this team. When Ryan Pepio returned from injury, which he did, which is great news for the rotation, we did have to make some room, and that meant Erasmo Ramirez got DFA'd. But the good news is that last night he is going to take an assignment to AAA Durham as opposed to leaving the organization, which makes me thrilled. If Zach were here today, I believe he nominated Erasmo to be the arm of the week. He has such a tough job of being the mop-up guy, but he always gives everything for the club, and he's come through in some big situations for us this year, and he's such a nice man. He's been with the organization in a couple of stints for a long time, and I'm glad that he's sticking around because we're probably going to need him again down the stretch. So glad Erasmo's sticking around in AAA. Shane Baz has run out the clock on his rehab assignment time, but is still not quite ready to return to the major leagues. So he has been reinstated from the injured list, but optioned to AAA Durham. Hopefully he could turn up to the major leagues a bit later on this year, as he's still been a bit spotty in AAA. Hasn't been able to work a really long outing yet, which is what you'd want from him if he wants to be a starter in the big leagues. So hopefully he can work that out. Chris Davinsky, bullpen arm, he got off to a rough start for the season, but is expected to be a key contributor to the pen going forward. He could be back any day now. He could be activated today. He could be activated tomorrow. He's with the team. He is currently at the Trop right now, ready to be activated. So keep an eye on him. He should be ready to come back. Who he replaces, who knows? It could be newly acquired left-hander Richard Lovelady, who we acquired via trade last week in exchange for Jeff Belge. He is a guy that is really interesting and has struggled with other teams, but the Rays love picking up those lefties that struggle and then turning them into world beaters. So keep an eye on Richard Lovelady. 80 grade name as well. Richard Lovelady, Dick Lovelady. Who you know, I'll let you do the math. And then in other news, Zach Eflin has of course went to the IL. Whether or not it's a real IL stint, I don't know. Apparently it's with lower back inflammation. Everyone says they're not too worried about it, which makes me think it could be a phantom IL stint. If he's off much longer than the 15 days that he needs to be on the IL, I'd be particularly surprised. And then also Jeffrey Springs, of course, through his first game of his rehab. He threw one inning at a Florida Complex League game on May 20th. He gave up a run, gave up 3 hits, and struck out 2 in 1 inning. And hopefully he'll get a couple more goes in the FCL before going to AAA Durham. And he could be back before the end of June, which would be such a boost to this rotation as well. And other than that, we don't have much going on the injury front. Because everyone's kind of back on the position player side, and until Springs comes back, and Davinsky is the only real guy sitting on the IL for the pitching side that we expect to return anytime soon. Of course, we'll probably see Rasmussen near the back end of this year. McClanahan's a 2025 return candidate. So those are the things that are going on the roster. You've got to wonder a couple of things about the roster, though. Firstly, is Junior Caminero going to end up earning a call-up at some point? Who knows? He's cooled down a bit after a red-hot start down in AAA. He's still doing fine, but it's, again, trying to find those at-bats for him at the moment, because I don't think they want to call him up until he's going to be a regular contributor. And with Bilao back, and with Paredes playing out of his mind, and the faith you have in Yandy to get better, where is he going to play? It's hard to really say at this point, unless you DH him over Harold, and you could do that, I suppose. The other really weird roster thing that's going on with the Rays right now is Rene Pinto still down in AAA. Alex Jackson, despite being absolutely abysmal, absolutely lost at the plate, a complete non-factor dead zone with the bat, and Rene Pinto doing very well with the bat down in Durham, and Rene Pinto's game calling ability and defensive abilities highly regarded by the Rays, as they have said several times. Him sitting in AAA is really baffling and confusing to me. I don't know if Rene Pinto has done something that's got him in trouble with the organization internally, whether he's been frustrated about the lack of game time he had when Rortvedt first came in, or whether he's trying to stray from a particular game plan, or what. There is definitely something fishy going on for why Rene Pinto is sitting in AAA, considering he was supposed to be the big starting catcher, numero uno, and they were saying that, and they were creating their roster like that all year. Why is he sitting in AAA when you've got a guy that is having a negative impact in Alex Jackson sitting up here, especially considering we have now long past the point of how long someone has to be in the minors when optioned, or has to be in the majors when called up? That's about 10, 15 days, and that is long past now, and they're still sitting there. So I really want someone to ask why this is happening, whether it's to Cash or Neander, and try and get a solid answer of why is Rene Pinto in AAA when he wasn't even doing that bad when he got sent down. It's baffling, and this is the one thing that's frustrating me about this team, is there are a couple of bits around the edges where they are refusing to make their team better when they could be. Rene Pinto for Alex Jackson is an obvious one, but also you could trade Harold Ramirez for Junior Caminero on the roster. That should, in theory, make the roster better, but they're not doing that for whatever reason, whether that's service time manipulation, whether that's really just caring about Caminero's seasoning in AAA, or whether they genuinely think Harold Ramirez is the best option for this team. They are actively hindering their best active roster being on the field as an organization, which is very curious. And I wish we could get a bit more explanation from that from the organization side. It's been a frustrating week and things are bad, but I think there are reasons for optimism, because I have lots of faith in the pitching staff, and I think the offense should return to the mean. But we do need to ask questions, and I can't wait to do that with Zach next week. We need to ask questions as to why this is not working, and delve even deeper as to why, or if we should be seriously concerned. I don't think this is a division-winning team anymore, and that's something really sad. But I do think we are still very much in contention for a wildcard spot, which is still encouraging, because, again, like we always say, as long as we get into the dance, just roll the dice and see what happens. You only have to play your best baseball in October, even if you are mediocre the rest of the season, which the Rays could do. They could be mediocre all season, get into the playoffs, roll the dice, and go all the way. That's what Texas did. They limped into the playoffs, and the Diamondbacks did that, and they ended up in the World Series because they turned it on right in those last 3 weeks when it really counted. So hopefully the Rays can do enough to get there. And we've still got plenty of baseball left. We've got over 100 games left of the season, people. So let's keep our Rays flappy prayers going. Praise be to the Sky Ray. I'm going to leave you for this week, and hopefully we can pick up a series dub against the Royals, and then have a great series against the A's as well, and we can talk more about this with Zach next week. In the meantime, be sure to let us know what you think. Are you a doomer or are you a believer in this team? Let us know in the comments. Drop us a like. Be sure to retweet. Be sure to follow, subscribe, all of that good stuff. It really does us a massive favor. And I'm going to love you and leave you. And as always, raise up.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, Please remember to like and subscribe.